to share my painting process with y'all, but I also wanted to talk about the concept behind it. So it's a depiction of myself wearing a t-shirt that I actually purchased earlier this year, and the shirt says, "Support your local feminist." It's a shirt that I bought kind of an impulse buy. At the time I was like, oh, I'm a feminist. I like this shirt, and I think the color and the cut are cute. And as it turns out, the color does nothing for me, and the crop top kind of trend also does nothing for me. So that's one reason why I don't wear this shirt anymore. But the other reason is because I became increasingly uncomfortable with the phrase "support your local feminist." So I think the more common version of this phrase is "support your local business." And when I really got to thinking about what this shirt is doing is it's connecting the idea of feminism, and like if you want to get larger than that, it's connecting the idea of social justice to commerce. And it's just kind of icky, if you ask me. I've been tangentially involved with some women's networking entrepreneurial group who are very forthright with their being feminist and inclusive and accepting of all races, religions, gender identities, and all of that stuff. And I just get kind of turned off by the idea of but yeah, at the heart of it, what we're really trying to do is make money. And, some of these creative workspaces are ones, that they're just, they're selling you handmade goods, and I love handmade goods. I love hand-thrown pottery and hand-sewn clothes and all of that stuff, and I do like supporting local businesses. That's not my problem, but my problem is connecting it with issues that are really important, like social justice issues. And I occasionally see environmentalism also bundled up with kind of capitalist commerce markety kind of things. And it's just this idea of making the world a better place by purchasing things. I even hear there's the vote with your dollar kind of thing. And it's just kind of it's just dumb. I mean, buying things doesn't make the world better. And it's something that feels kind of unexamined to me. When I look at a shirt that says "support your local feminist," and of course I did it. I bought the shirt and I was like, oh, cute, bye. But I didn't actually examine the idea of me, a privileged white lady wearing a shirt that says "support your local feminist," implying support me, because I would imagine if you're wearing a shirt like this that you probably are a feminist. What you're saying is you should support me, but the system supports me. Everything in society has been set up to, support people like me. And I just find that to be kind of smug, and I don't know, it's just kind of gross. It's just something I don't quite feel comfortable with. And especially, this idea of connecting it to buying things. I posted this on Instagram, and someone said that they didn't have a problem with the shirt, and it's a way to signal that you're an ally. And I thought that was an interesting take on it. But I'm going to push back a little bit because, first of all, I do live in Austin and run with a very liberal crowd. So signaling that you're an ally where I live isn't something that's I guess, necessary or relevant. But also, I think there's other ways to do that. So, for instance, I have another graphic t-shirt that says, "Girls support girls." And that's a way of being supportive. I mean, it even says support in it, but it's more of a support that doesn't necessarily imply buying things. So I think that's the difference to me. So it's not even about, being anti-feminist or anti-whatever. It's just more about connecting these issues that are actually really important with the sales of, a cute terrarium or a hand-dyed silk scarf. And it just, I don't know, this idea too of feminism and these kind of very like liberal, things being a signal that like, hey, we're in the same social group of like college educated millennial white ladies who listen to NPR and we buy our clothes from Madewell and all of that. Like, there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but I don't like the idea of taking a cause that's really important and assigning that cause to, a very privileged group of women. It makes me feel, I guess, very cynical about the use of feminism like this. I posed the figure in this image to be kind of looking down at the shirt, kind of putting their hand on it, inspecting it, kind of being self-reflective. And that's one of the things that I was really thinking about, particularly with feminism and with liberalism in general, is that I think it's important that we take a step out of like the outrage news cycle, all of the really tragic and awful things that we see on our social media timelines. And like, yeah, that's like its own thing, and let's freak out about that later. But I think it's important that we actually think about the actual ideas and the more than just the ideas, the actual like material situations, and think about like the policies that change that, and not just for us but for other people, and think about things like that, and just really be introspective about what does it mean to be a feminist, what does it mean to be a woman, an American, a liberal, a leftist, whatever you are, like I took time in my life to think about why, my Christian beliefs, why do I believe those, and think about that. Previously I grew up very conservatively and took time to examine those things. And I think that it's important, even if you've held a belief system for a long time, I think it's always important that we reflect on that. And even belief systems that aren't even like important, like thinking about why you like some things or why you don't like some things. I think that it's really easy because there's such a huge amount of information that we take in every day to just start accepting things. Like when I purchased this t-shirt, I was just like, cute, I want it. And then I bought it without actually examining what it meant. And maybe you're like, Jenny, you're making way too big a deal out of a t-shirt. And I would be like, yeah, probably. But I do, when you're like literally like have the words on your chest going out in the world, that is like an actual statement you're making. So, I mean, I don't know. I really like graphic t-shirts, if you didn't know this about me. And I like the idea of explicit expression as clothes. But I think it's important that we take the time to actually think about the things that we're expressing and the things that we're endorsing. And, not just taking things at face value, and not just taking things through the lens of social media, which is so emotionally charged, like insanely emotionally charged. And just thinking about things and trying to examine our actual belief system. And I think that it's interesting that even within our belief systems, there's a lot of nuance to them and a lot of thoughts and interesting conversations. And it's interesting. We live in a world that has changed. Like, I'm only 30 and the world has changed so much, even just throughout my 20s. And like, I think that that's why it's really important that we constantly be evaluating our belief systems, because things, like when I was 20, I don't think I was even aware of trans people. I don't think I didn't know what that was. I'd never heard of that. And I grew up, conservative North Texas. So if that's something that was really common where you grew up, I don't know, but I had never heard of it. And so, thinking of feminism, and what being a woman meant, and like all of this meant one thing to me, and then you learn about some new thing in the world, and you're a thing that's always been there, but you find out about it and you're like, oh wow, okay, this really challenges what I currently believe. Let's sit here and let's look at it and let's examine where our beliefs fall in line with this new bit of information, or this shift in culture, or a shift in like technology, or anything like that. It's interesting, it's complicated, and it's a lot of thought too. I think sometimes I drive myself crazy thinking about all of this stuff, but I think that it's important to be informed and to not just coast through everything just like, oh, well, I mean, I was raised to believe this, or like, well, I mean, in my day it was like this, and it's like, okay, well, it's not your day anymore. And I'm sorry if that's pointed towards people who are older than me, but I mean, the same is true for people my age, talking about the people younger than me. You know what I mean? It just is, it's just something to think about. So, yeah, I guess those are my thoughts. I guess I'll talk about the art now. This is done in Williamsburg oil paints on a stretched canvas. That background, that washy background, is actually acrylic high flow with a lot of water to make kind of just a interesting textural background. I am using silver brushes. I think a variety of their oil painting brushes. I like their Grand Prix ones. They're really exciting. I want to do a whole thing about brush care and oil brushes and stuff, but I'm still learning on that. And I kind of like how kind of rough this looks. The actual reference photo, my hair is pretty disheveled in it, and then painting it kind of in these chunky looks and including all of the little stray hairs, and they're all jaggedy. I kind of like that, the look of disheveledness, and having the areas of color and value be kind of chunky. I kind of like that look. It's something I've been leaning into with feminism. Lean in, haha. But it's something that I've been exploring in my oil paintings. So I think that this is interesting too, because last week's video was about overworking the skin tone in a watercolor and then looking at the skin tone in this portrait. So let me know your thoughts. If you have thoughts where you're like, feminism is stupid, debate me. I'm not going to do that. I'm assuming if you're still watching at this point, you're not going to leave me that kind of comment. But yeah, just let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the painting. I know I talked a lot about it. Was any of that expressed in just a single image? That's an interesting question. And yeah, let me know, what kinds of graphic t-shirts do you like to wear? I think they're really fun, and actually my last 3 oil portraits have been patterned or graphic t-shirts, and that's something I kind of want to stick with. So I will see you in the next painting, portrait-y thing. If political social issues aren't your deal, I probably won't be talking about it in the next one. So until then, I will see y'all guys later. Bye!